it's a really strange concept as to what people believe these mushrooms were back then. If you read the first half of John Allegro's book, The Sacred Mushroom and the Cross, once again he was a researcher who spent years researching and translating the Dead Sea Scrolls. Basically, remember in one of my videos I mentioned some etymological definitions of mother and father, and the patterns in the sky ultimately is where we get the word paternal, and father, or pater noster. And the earth itself was the mother goddess. It was matter. That's where we get the word maternal, and motherly, or mother. And every morning when the sun would rise, they believed that the sun was the penis, it sounds crazy, of the sky god. Some cultures thought that shaft hanging between Orion's legs was a penis too. Sounds crazy, but so this, in the morning when the sun would begin to rise and the earth would go through this geological phenomenon called pre-dawn electromagnetic induction. It's where the earth's magnetic field comes roaring back and ionization happens in the sky, and that's a lot, often when the dew falls from the sky. And they thought that dew falling out of the sky was the spermosa, or I think that's right, the word that John Legro used, but the sperm basically. And it was fertilizing the earth of the goddess's womb. And so this mushroom that would pop up out of the ground after the inductions and the electrical storms, when there was a lot of dew in the air and a lot of moisture from the electrical storms, would produce this sacred offspring, if you want to call it. So this mushroom got anthropomorphized as anthropomorphized is basically human characteristics, or just as the sky god, the father sky, and the mother earth. This was the child, or the offspring of the two, that came to us to enlighten us. I'm not trying to bash any Christian ideology or anything. I'm just saying that this guy read the Dead Sea Scrolls, and this is ultimately what they come up with. And they'd mash these things into an oil and anoint themselves, and that was the christening. And if you look throughout the artwork in Vatican, you'll see representations of Jesus like sitting in a mushroom bowl. Or the weird thing is that some of the cults thought it was more of a hermaphroditic thing, because it would start off with in the egg form, like a called the vulva or whatnot, and then it would spring out the phallic part, and this little rib breaks away, and this veil comes out, and it was called the proverbial veil, I guess, or the Eve is what they called it, and the tip was the atom. And this is, I'm just trying to do my best to recite back kind of the information that I got out of his book. So, yeah, it was anthropomorphized into a god being, and, it suggested that if you consume enough of these, you speak to this godhead, sort of, or at least they would have hopes for spiritual discernment from something from the other side. Sounds kind of crazy when you consider what we think of mushrooms today. They're just something we go and buy from the grocery store and eat, or we pick off of our pizza because we don't like them. But, yeah, regardless, if you're not into them and you just eat them, there's one thing you can do with the ones that you get from the grocery store, just as a benefit, health benefit, is you can, um, most of the stuff that comes from the store haven't been kissed by the sun. Um, and it just so happens that these mushrooms, just like our skin, because we're just like a big walking, talking fungus, we are part of the grand biological kingdom, which mushrooms is right up there at the top. So, we're inherently part of this. And um, just like our skin, they produce vitamin D in the sun. So you can take your mushrooms from the store that haven't been touched by the sun and stick them out in the sun for a few hours with their gills up, and they'll go from like 0, was it BTUs or BTIs of vitamin D up to potentially 10,000. So, and if you think about in the wintertime, the Siberian shaman, when the sun is lacking, them doing this and letting them soak out. And this is why we put our Christmas trees in the window with the bulbs hanging in there to soak up the sun, to let them dry out. But they also went through that process of decarboxylation, and they would increase, in particular species, they'd increase their vitamin D amount, which is something that if you're in the winter and in the north, you're lacking that vitamin D from the sun to keep your spirits up. Just like, people in Washington, D.C., or Washington up north. My sister used to live up there. A lot of people get depressed when it's all rainy and gloomy all the time, and you get a little vitamin D boost, and it makes you feel pretty good. Just like soaking up some sun. So, just thought I'd share that. It's a very interesting perspective. I mean, most people today would never consider that. But, a lot people were a lot closer to the earth back then. They knew about the subtle harmonic vibrations that the earth would give off. They knew about, just from studying their structures that were built back in Egypt, they knew how to tap into the earth's frequencies and stuff, and harness that energy to that same electromagnetic energy that produces these. They'd harness that stuff to fight off free radicals in the soil and in the people around the pyramids and such. And from my own personal experience doing a psychedelic when I was younger, the only times I've ever seen like a full-on spectrum of like aura around people, on my own without any drugs I practiced, without anything altering my conscious, and occasionally I can see, something, but nothing like when you have your eyes preternaturally dilated and you just see, everything's time dilated. You see the plants vibrating, and you see geometry everywhere, and you see, catch glimpses of people's electromagnetic perspective, their aura kind of shimmering and shining around them, and you got to be pretty up there, pretty high to see that, and you can't be scared. As soon as you have that much DMT in your system and you get scared, you're going to have a bad dream. You have a nightmare while you're awake. It's like a schizophrenic episode. So Jesus said it best: when you open that one eye, and your one eye be single, and you be full of love and light, lest you be full of love and light. And when you open your one eye, your pineal gland, and you have epiphanies, and you be full of darkness, lest you be full of darkness. So be full of love and light, people. I think that's about. I'm going to wrap up my mushroom videos for the week here. Have a great day. One love. Be blessed.